morning and welcome to the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. Well, I hope all of you are listening today had a great week last week. Business throughout the United States seems to be doing better, and hopefully around the world if you're listening in another country. So we're going to talk about a variety of things today, and I've got two guests that I think you're really going to enjoy the stories they have to share with us. We're going to start off today's show with our thought for the week, where do you stand? Then we'll check in quickly with Dick here at the business and see what the business is at Lone Star Community Radio. And then our special guest today is Ray Bessette. Ray is the co-owner of the Firm U. The Firm U itself is not a typical gym or health facility. They've taken the doctor's office and put it in private personal training studio, performing and assessing comprehensive blood lab tests as well as weight training with anti-inflammatory nutrition education. Ray will share his story on how he and his partner developed their concept to give them an edge in the highly competitive weight loss and workout industries. And then in the expert corner, we have Chris Wee joining us with Cook Insurance. I'll get it out. Just bear with me. Cook Insurance. He's going to talk to us about a very important topic if you're in business today, and that's commercial insurance. Explain what it really is, and in particular, the need today for cyber insurance. I will close the show today with the Silver Fox tip of the week, finding your place in the marketplace. Remember, at any time during the show, if you have a question or a comment, or even after the show, please email me. My email address here at the station is rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Let me know what you're thinking. And by the way, if you have a question about your own business and just want some quick advice, please send me that email as well. Thought for the week, where do you stand? Where do you stand in your business today? Now, that's a broad question, but the fact is that we need to understand where we stand on our business in many different ways. We need to understand where we stand on the rules and regulations, how we're going to enforce them, how we enforce and regulate the processes that make up the everyday life of our business. Now, some of you may have said, well, where do I stand? That sounds political. Well, I shy away from the political side when I'm dealing with business because to me, they're two separate things. But I definitely understand what happens in the political world, who gets elected, what laws are passed, directly or indirectly can affect our business. But what I'm trying to touch on briefly today is let your folks that you do business with, that includes your employees, because you do business with them, they make up your business, your vendors, and your clients or customers know where you stand in business. And what I'm talking about is you need to frame a quick, easy, simple message that conveys to everyone where you stand in your business, how you run your business. I mean, the worst thing in the world is have some policy and employees are not really sure how you enforce it. You know, the old story, someone's late for work every other day and you say, well, look, I'll do better tomorrow, and you really don't do anything about it. Well, that sends a message. That communicates to your other employees where you stand. You need to decide, because when you get off of where you stand and become a little irregular or different, it confuses people. It can confuse vendors. If you want delivery done on time every time, convey that. I'm looking for a vendor who can deliver right on time every time versus, well, I want a good old boy, or I want to save a few dollars on deliveries and I will accept a late delivery occasionally. Be sure you know where you stand in your business. Don't be afraid to correct someone, whether it be an employee, a vendor, or even a customer. Of course, approaching the customer possibly a little differently, just as a vendor, just as your employees, but don't be afraid to communicate to them and correct them if they don't understand where you stand. Remember, new directions and opportunities are available to all of us in our business every day. The Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County and businesses throughout the world come to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve their business, and to hear from some of our own local business leaders how they have found success right here in the Montgomery County area. I need to remind you before we go further, remember the Weekly Business Hours on Facebook. We have a page on Facebook, and I ask you to go there and like it. That way, as we post our shows each Wednesday, our podcast, you'll have direct access to them. Well, now's the time of the show when we check in with Dick on the business here at Lone Star. Dick, what's going on with Lone Star this week?
I want to remind your listeners that we're adding 2 new shows this week. They had their inaugural shows last week. On Tuesdays, we're going to have the Hispanic Chamber Connection, and on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to have Montgomery County Lifestyle with Nathan Arizotti. So if you're looking to know what's going on around Montgomery County, both those shows are very informative.
Yeah, great business show. The Hispanic Chamber, the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber, great organization. I'm familiar with it. and does great work in a small but growing chamber. So if you're interested in a Chamber of Commerce, I recommend you find one or two, the Conroe Chamber, the Woodlands Chamber. There's lots of opportunities to connect with the Chamber of Commerces here in the Montgomery County area. Well, today I'm very pleased to have, I think, a very special business guest with us, Ray Bessette. Ray is the owner of the Firm U, and I already told you a little bit about what they're doing. They've got a unique service process, and I'm going to enjoy talking about it and letting all of us understand a little bit better how Ray and his partner have successfully implemented. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
Well, we always start off. Give us a little bit of background, business background, so the audience kind of knows where you're coming from.
Well, it began in high school. I was a former gymnast, and that gave me kind of an edge as far as a physique, and went into the Air Force after school. And in the Air Force, I don't know if you're familiar, but out of all the branches, they have the best gyms around. And I played football for the base team, and we started lifting weights. And that's how I got into weight training. Of course, I've already gymnastic equipment there. So from there, getting out of the Air Force after 6 years, I worked for the state government and continued lifting weights. And I got a lot of comments, hey, you got to get into bodybuilding. And so I did my first show in 1985. From that point on, I was hooked. And what we did back then is, we had our anti-inflammatory nutrition, which was if your nutrition needs, if you ate food that did not rot after you ate it, or it didn't rot at all, then it was inflamed. It inflamed your body. The other component was, bodybuilding, weight training. Every bodybuilder weight trained. And the other thing was the hormone component. I was 25 years old back then, so I was rocking and rolling. Anyway, so I worked for state government for about 10 years, and after that I got into the pharmaceutical business. And that was in Las Vegas, Nevada. From there, I was traveling a lot to Houston, had houses in both places. And I decided to pull up my stakes in Las Vegas, get out of the pharmaceutical business. I was in there for a long time and retired from that and said, what am I going to do? Well, let's go back to our days. I competed on the national level as a bodybuilder at a younger age. And so I decided, what else can I do? Where is there to go? I looked up to become a personal trainer. I had a lot of college credits, and I decided to go that route. And I had to learn the business. So I went and joined some of the big box gyms and became a manager there. And I saw how they ran the business. And, I think I can do this a lot better. The nutrition wasn't as up to par. Their practices it just wasn't what I envisioned in myself. And I went back to my old bodybuilder days. You can't really teach people about bodybuilding because they say, oh, I don't want to look like that. I'm going to be big and really muscular. Well, it's not like that. It takes years and years and years to put on muscle. And also, just as a side note, muscle is what burns fat. Fat burns in the muscle cells. So you don't have to be a Hulk Hogan or a little Hulkster to burn fat. So after that, moving to, again, back to Houston, I went out on my own as an independent personal trainer. I worked at a gym for about 2.5 years that closed down all of a sudden. So I kind of scrambled for a location and I found a location about a quarter mile away. It was a Pilates gym, women's Pilates gym that actually closed down. It was called The Firm. And I'm looking at that, I'm saying, okay, my name or my business name was the Firm U. The Fit Effect. And I'm looking at all those letters, and I got a couple quotes, and that's going to cost me about $8,000 to put a new sign up there. So I looked at that sign again. It said the Firm U, and I said, you know what? I could make a U out of that M. Just put a little red on that M and call it the Firm U. So I looked up thefirmu.com. That was available. I said, okay, we're off and running. So I did the Fit Effect, doing business as the Firm U. The Firm U was born. From that business, or from that perspective, we wouldn't have gym memberships. We would be just personal training one-on-one. And that's when I started going back to my bodybuilding days, and I said, what worked? What is the missing ingredient for most people? Most people are doing very well if they get their nutrition down, they get their exercise down, but what else is missing? Like, I'm 57 years old. If I took my anti-inflammatory nutrition is down packed, my weight training's down packed, and here I am at 57. If I could clone myself at 27, where would I find the better results? At 57 or me at 27? Probably at 27. What's the missing ingredients? It's called hormones. We start losing our hormones after the age of 30. They start plummeting. So I started training a client who was a pharmacist and a biochemist. Her name is Christine Boss. With her, we put our heads together and said, wait a minute, well, I'm the biomechanic, You're the chemist. Let's put it together. Oh my God, the Firm U was born. We call it the BioFirm system. We took biomechanics, biochemistry, and bioidenticals and put them all together in a business model. All those three components are what made us today.
You know, you've given us kind of a brief rundown in the fitness industry, and maybe some people don't understand it. I mean, you've got, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've got, like you say, the big box fitness, and then you've got individual gyms or fitness centers that are all over the place, but they seem to come and go quite frequently. What other parts are there to the fitness business right now?
Well, we have specialized, like there's bar workout. You have, the other martial art type of places, Pilates specialized places, but a lot of the bigger gyms have that within the facility. You get more individual attention, like in the kind of a business that I run, and it's going to cost a little bit more, but we're not sitting back crossing our fingers hoping you're not going to show up paying $10 a month.
Right.
Okay.
So the idea is that the customer out there, you've got a really broad market, if you would, of types of facilities people can choose. One's very inexpensive, typical market, and the other one where you get a little better quality product.
Right.
The price continues to go up. That's kind of an interesting thing that if we step back, and the one thing I've noticed personally about, because I'm into working out a little bit and doing some weight management, is that these types of facilities, always a new, I don't know if call it a fad, but something shows up. You mentioned the martial arts,
right?
That I'm going to lose weight by losing or control my weight, get stronger. How does a person decide what's best for them if they're looking to connect and improve their health?
That's a great question. I hate to say this, but confusion usually sells. And a lot of times, if there's a diet out there, there's another diet to follow up with. Like in our facility, we do Pilates, we do yoga, we do a lot of stretching, a lot of balance. But we don't name it one thing. We call it the firm. All of those components are all impact in what we do right now. But those other specialty places, they kind of burn out after a while. They're missing some of those components. We start from the inside out. We look at the chemistry of your body first. If your body's not ready to lose fat, you're behind the 8 ball already. That's why we do our blood tests. We do blood tests to find out if you're insulin resistant. 90% of the people that come into our studio are insulin or diabetic or pre-diabetic. We find that out from an A1C test that we do. And we do that standard right off the bat. It's an option, and if you're a younger person, more than likely, if you're a body fat of over 30%, more than likely you're going to be insulin resistant. When you have sugar in your blood, insulin resistant means that you have a lot of insulin in your blood. Where there's sugar, or let's go back, where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's sugar, there's insulin. And physiological fact is that if you have large amounts of insulin in your body, it's physiologically impossible to lose fat. So most people that can do cardio, they're kind of running in a cage like a hamster would inside of a wheel. Okay, they just come spinning their wheels. There's no metabolic process.
Well, it's interesting. I'm a great example of that because when I was in my 20s, I used to run 25, 30 miles a week, and I never really lost any weight. So the proof's in the pudding.
Right.
Well, Ray, we're going to take a little break here. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back and talk to Ray a little bit more about this business and how this service process that he and his partner have put together is managed and how it developed and why it may be the right place for you. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Did you know your favorite show on Lone Star Community Radio are on social media? Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, you name it, they're on it. Check out where they are online on irlonestar.com/shows and see which of your favorite hosts are online. Make sure to follow them and see what is in store for the next broadcast. Follow Lone Star Community Radio on Twitter at irlonestar or Facebook with facebook.com/irlonestar.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and your host of the Weekly Business Hour, and welcome you back to our second segment today. We're in the process of talking with Ray Bessette. Ray is the co-owner of the Firm U. Before we continue that conversation, I want to remind you that you and your company can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour. If you have an interest in sponsoring the show and communicating your message to our business community, then please email me at rick@irlonestar.com. Well, Ray, we were talking when we went to the break about some of the physiology of the way the body works and the insulin factor, which I agreed with you because of personal experience of the cardio effect and so on and so forth. But, one of the things we sort of touched on in the first segment, I want to kind of go back to it, people are always interested when their business, they've got competition. A lot of times they don't understand the competition. I don't think you have to live and breathe it. I think that's the wrong thing to do. But you have to build a business that's competitive. And what do you do in your business really to stand out? In other words, I'm out there, I'm looking for an opportunity to be involved and improve my health, because as you mentioned prior to the show, you're in the health business. Why do I see you? How do you come on my radar, and why would I be interested in talking to you initially?
Well, a lot of our business come from physicians themselves. We have a lot of people that come to our gym that says our doctors, told us to exercise more and watch what we eat. Well, that's a recipe for failure. Exercise, usually people will equate exercise to walking on the treadmill and cutting their calories. On our end, our business model is to actually increase your calories, reduce your refined sugars and carbohydrates. But incidentally, carbohydrates is just a long word for sugar. Sugar is the only macronutrient, well, it's not even a macronutrient, it's the only food substance, we'll call it, that actually can get you fat. Now, protein and fat can get you fat. Here's an example. How can fat get you fat? It's already fat. Can't turn to fat, right? Okay, so anyway, so we based upon, again, we go with a blood test. And our blood tests are much different than your insurance or doctor's blood tests. We actually look for things rather than discovering a disease. We prevent diseases. We look at things like, I mentioned before, A1C, which is a measurement of glucose or blood sugar over a 3-month period. We also look at your thyroid, your cortisol, your testosterone, your free testosterone, which is the measurement, which is the active testosterone. Guys over 40, if you don't know your testosterone numbers, you're missing out on life. And same with women. We have women that come into our studio and they said, well, my doctor said, I had a hysterectomy, I lost my ovaries. They have nothing. It's equal to a male castration. And they're not producing any hormones. And it's no wonder they don't feel good. They're depressed. And then a doctor, their protocol usually is to give them an antidepressant, which gets them heavier. So they get heavier and get more depressed. And then finally they come to see us, and we see the story quite often. And so we go ahead and do their blood test, get them on bioidentical hormones. Bioidentical meaning identical to the hormones that you produce. And another thing, incidentally, is that we lose hormones in the aging process. It's something that you don't do for a short period of time. It's something you have to do forever. I get often asked, how long do I have to be on hormones? And I usually say, how long do you want to feel good? So it's one of those. What are the benefits? Well, cardiovascular protection, libido. If you're tired, you're going to be much more active. I mean, I'm 57 and I've been on hormone replacement for about 12 years now. And I get up at 3 o'clock every day. I'm at the gym, my gym at 3:30, and I work till 8 o'clock at night, nonstop. So I may be a good example of what you can do or the energy that you have. Plus, I have muscle mass. As I mentioned earlier, fat burns in the muscle. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn at rest. And that's another niche that we have. And I didn't say gimmick or fad. Our niche is to keep, when people lose weight, they look at the scale. We have a bioimpedance scale where you step on it barefooted. It measures the muscle in your body. It also measures the fat. It also measures your water in pounds. So if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, I lost 20 pounds in the last 6 weeks. I say, oh yeah, really? So what did you lose? Was it muscle? Was it fat? Or was it water? Because I got to tell you, we're made out of those 3 ingredients. It's got to be one of those. And 90% of the time, it's water. I get them on my bioimpedance scale. I see that their water percentage in their body is only 31%. It should be 50 or above. So I know they're on some kind of a diet that's restricting water from their body. So when they get on that scale looking at that number, all they're seeing is, oh my God, I lost 10 pounds. Well, guess what? In that process, you're going to lose muscle. Remember I mentioned earlier, when you lose muscle, you lose your effectiveness to burn fat at rest. The purpose of exercise, and people out there, this is so important. If you don't get anything out of anything I say today, remember this. The purpose of exercise is not how many calories you burn in a session or in an hour. It's just to stimulate your muscles to burn calories when you're resting. Right now, I'm burning a lot of calories just sitting here, and that's because of the workout I did yesterday. I trained legs yesterday. My legs are starting to get sore. I can start to feel them. And in fact, when I stand back up, I'm going to feel really sore. But I know that my body is already generating or regenerating or metabolizing the catabolic process of breaking down that muscle and rebuilding it. That burns calories at rest. So you're actually burning calories for 1 hour workout. You're burning calories 24/7 for the next 72 hours. Now you do that 3 times a week. That's about 168 hours. Guess how many hours are in a week? 168 hours. Okay, so that's why, you know, our competition is education, educating people to understand that, you know, you just don't go on a treadmill and then, you know, actually go into a gym. When you walk into a gym, the normal gym, what do you see? The first thing you see are overabundance of treadmills, because your doctor said to get on that treadmill or it said, or she said, exercise. Well, guess what? If you get on a treadmill, push a button, you walk, it's easy. There's no instructions. But then again, there's no results. Everybody in the cardio equipment have one thing in common. They don't change.
Well, and you know, that's interesting to me. And as you say, your competition really is educating people, and it sounds like build a balance between all these things, which makes sense when you talk about nature and you talk about the human being. But you know, like every business, you have a challenge or two every day in the business side of what you do. Share with us what your biggest challenge is in your business day to day and how you solve or meet that challenge.
Again, it goes back to the, you know, trying to sell. Well, my biggest challenge is the media, TV. I mean, you look at The Biggest Loser and you see these trainers yelling at people, and these people that are morbidly obese trying to turn over a tractor tire. What kind of exercise is that? That to me is, when people walk in the door, that's what they're thinking. They're thinking he's going to yell at me, he's going to ask me what I ate, he's going to cut away my booze, he's going to do this and that. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to ask you to take pictures of your food, then we're going to discuss it. We're going to discuss it as adults and say, you know what, I'm not your parent. I'm not going to say you can't have that because you're at a loss. What I'd much rather do is educate you on protein. Go ahead, eat as much as you can. It can't turn to fat. It's physiologically impossible. Oh, fats? Yeah, we need fats. As a matter of fact, our food is lacking of oxygen in fats. It's called omega-3. We lose our omega-3. Well, let's correlate cancer. Cancer can't live with its oxygen. What's really abundant nowadays? Cancer. Is there a relationship? I think so. So we supplement with omega-3 supplements. Just another example. The other thing that we do at my facility is we have pharmaceutical grade supplements. And through our blood test, we either recommend a RX or a prescription, or we can get you back in the swing of things with some of our supplements. And again, they're pharmaceutical or medical grade.
You mentioned that at the beginning, as you gave your business background, you've got this one location with the hybrid sign, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a wonderful business story, in my opinion. What does the future hold for you and the firm you?
Well, it's taken us a long time to get where we are. My partner and I, Christine Boss, have done a lot of research. We research like doctors do through the medical journals, and we apply the science to everyday use for the average person to come in and understand why I'm doing this. Not so much yelling at you, telling you to move on. Our motivation is education. What a great concept. Oh my God. You know, I'm doing this because I understand what I'm doing, and it'll last you forever. You know, we look at it when you come to our facility to lose whatever your fitness goals are. We have people to try to gain muscles. We actually have a lot of competitors that come in, physique competitors, and we treat our physique competitors just like a regular person that comes in, because we don't make them into bodybuilders. Of course, if they want to, we could, but we use the same principles. The reason why we use the same principles is because they work. Bottom line, they work. But to see the future, well, I think we've got our business model nailed down. Now, the expansion part of that, well, it's kind of hard to replace the two people that created what we do. So we're going to our younger generation and educating them to take our place one day. Yeah.
Well, you've got a great business story, Ray, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come and join us in the studio today. If people are interested in learning more about the business side or what you have to offer in health, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
My email address is ray@thefirmu, that's THEFIRM, the letter U.com. Or just get on our website. Our website's full of information. We also have a Facebook page, The Firm U, and we do a lot of videos, short videos, that's actually going to probably put us out of business one day, because they're so informative. But that's probably the best way.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming and joining us and informing us, not just about business, but ladies and gentlemen, I hope you picked up some tips for your health, because your health is important, very important to the success of your business.